Hello there! If you're anything like me, handsome, funny, incredibly humble, you might have fallen down the pipeline into Magic the Gathering from playing games like D&D or other class-based RPG systems, not that kind of class, and discovered that Magic the Gathering as a game is very broad. Not that kind of broad, but broad in the sense of there's like 27,000 unique Magic cards. When you go on EDH Rec, you get blasted with this. There's so many different ways of playing the game that it's tough to find where to start. So this whole series is going to be about finding what you like to play in D&D and turning that into a commander deck. So let's talk about Necromancy. If you like playing a Necromancer, you're going to like playing this deck. They play very similarly. That's the point. Of course, historically, the oldest known record of a Necromancer is the Witch from Clash of Clans. And Necromancy revolves around controlling, summoning the undead, specifically zombies and skeletons. It is no wonder that our commander is going to be the Scarab God. 3 blue-black for a legendary creature, God 5/5, who just does it all for us. He is amazing as a Necromancy commander. He rewards your zombies, which is something you want every Necromancer to do, because at the beginning of your upkeep, each opponent loses X life, and you scry X, where X is the number of zombies you control. That is amazing. He also makes zombies himself, because for 2 blue and a black, you can exile a target creature card from a graveyard, not just yours, and create a token that's a copy of it, except it's a 4/4 black zombie. He's making the zombies, he's rewarding you for the zombies, and of course, he's hard to kill like any good Lich or Necromancer would be, because when the Scarab God dies, you just return it to its owner's hand at the beginning of the next end step. You can avoid the commander tax entirely as long as he's not getting exiled or shuffled or anything. Very good commander. He does it all for us. So the game plan for this deck to live in that Necromancer style is to play zombies, turn opponent stuff into zombies, and eventually win the game. To start us off, we have Gleaming Overseer, 1 blue-black for a zombie wizard 1/4. That's a bit of a 2-for-1, because when Gleaming Overseer enters the battlefield, we make a small little zombie. Now we're getting 2 triggers off our commander. Very nice. And of course, Gleaming Overseer gives our zombie tokens we control hexproof and menace, meaning they need to be blocked by 2 guys and they can't be targeted directly, which is really good. Of course, Undead Augur is 2 black mana for a zombie wizard 2/2 that says whenever Undead Augur or another zombie we control happens to die again, I guess. I don't know how it works for zombies. We draw a card and we lose 1 life. A little bit of life loss, but we get to draw cards. And this deck really needs card draw to keep our hands full of zombies to do some really fun stuff. Like using a Rooftop Storm, 5 and a blue for an enchantment that is basically giving us zombie tax evasion in a sense. It's an enchantment that says you may pay 0 mana rather than pay the mana cost for zombie creature spells you cast. If our hand is full, we can just spam out all of our zombies for 6 mana. Oh, it is beautiful and a really staple card in any Necromancy deck. Now we move on to borrowing cards from our opponent's graveyard, just reanimating them for our benefit. First up, we have Fleshbag Marauder. He's 2 and a black for a zombie warrior that when he enters the battlefield, each player sacrifices a creature. This is good because we want cards in our opponent's graveyards that we can then adopt with our commander. We can then turn into our own zombies. And Fleshbag Marauder scales based on your playgroup. If your playgroup has many scary big monsters in the battlefield, Fleshbag Marauder makes your opponent sack them, and then you can reanimate them. So the scarier stuff is, the scarier you are, if that makes sense. Throw in a Curse of Marauder just so you have a little bit of redundancy, but it's very good at clearing your opponent's board out if they're indestructible, hexproof, etc. And it's a zombie, so you can reanimate it and do some other fun stuff with it. Next up, we have Ghoul's Night Out. It is 5 mana for a sorcery that says for each player, that's you and your opponents, choose a creature card in that player's graveyard. Put those cards onto the battlefield under your control. They're now black zombies in addition to their other colors and types. They also gain Decayed, so if they attack, they have to get sacrificed. They also can't block. But everybody knows ghouls just like to have fun. You know what I'm saying? It's a zombie party. You're reanimating a bunch of really cool stuff, and it's very good. We can't forget that our own commander does this for us. It's just a bit expensive, which is why we run Training Grounds. 1 blue mana for an enchantment that basically sends our commander up the Philadelphia steps to train now that his activated ability costs 2 generic less to activate, meaning we can reanimate any card in any graveyard for only 2 mana. That is an insane value piece in this deck. We love Training Grounds. Now we also have Animate, Dead, and Reanimate, some of the most classic reanimation necromancy type spells where we just target a creature card in a graveyard and bring it back onto the battlefield under our control, losing some life for Reanimate or having it be a little bit weaker with Animate, Dead. And of course, our biggest win con is Rise of the Dark Realms. It's 9 mana for a sorcery that puts all creature cards from all graveyards onto the battlefield under our control. So we basically just turn everything against our opponents. It is super fun, and I've lost to this card many a time. It is awesome. Of course, speaking of winning, we need to know, how does this deck win on average? Well, we have our commander, the Scarab God, just chilling, right? We play some really good value cards like Grave Titan and Vizier the Scorpion, which make a bunch of zombie tokens for us. Of course, we can also steal cards from our opponents, like Avacyn Zombie of Hope, right? So the better your opponents, the better you will end up being as well. Build a huge board and swing for the win. It is awesome. And classic necromancy horde mentality. The pros of this deck are that you get that swarm tactic necromancy commander feel with cards like Army of the Dead, where you just make 13 tapped zombie creature tokens. If this gets back to your turn and you have your commander, you're draining your opponents for 13 life and getting to look at the top 13 cards of your library. You're going to feel like a mad genius with all these awesome zombies. Can't forget how cool your commander is, being able to pick and choose cards to reanimate from your opponents and your own graveyard. And of course, using your opponent's stuff against them. Nothing feels better than swinging at them with a zombie version of their own coolest card. Some of the cons of the deck, though, are that the mana cost is a bit expensive. If you can't get Rooftop Storm, you're kind of screwed. You only got Dimir Signet, Talisman, and maybe a Soul Ring as your mana ramp. You don't have a lot of other ways of getting mana, and with a 5 mana commander, you really hope he doesn't get removed. You've also got fewer board wipes. This deck focuses on having a big board, so you don't want to really wipe your board as much. Of course, we got Living Death, the coolest card ever, because each player swaps their graveyard and their battlefield, which is pretty cool. And of course, it's just a bit expensive. A lot of these really cool zombie cards are higher up in price. Of course, doesn't matter if you proxy, but let's just kind of go over it real quick of the cost breakdown. Your commander in of himself is about $10 as of making this video. He might go up, he might go down, but he's usually around $10. He's just really cool. Your reanimation package of Animate, Dead, Rise of the Dark Realms, and Reanimate is about $20 for these 3 cards, Rise of the Dark Realms being about half of it on its own. Continuing our cost breakdown, we have our sort of backup commander, I would say, in air quotes, Will Help the Rot Cleaver. He's about $5, but he's really good because he basically makes zombie tokens when your zombies die, and you can sacrifice zombies to draw cards. Of course, you can also have Zombie Master in this deck. He's $8, but for 3 mana, he gives all your creatures, all your zombies, I should say, 1 black mana to regenerate that zombie, and Swamp Walk. It's just a really good like Lord Anthem effect. It is $8, bringing the total cost of the deck to about $100, which isn't bad, honestly. It's lower than, Commander Masters and stuff like that. But you can get it down to about 50 or 60 bucks if you take out some of the higher costed cards that you might not feel the need for in your own playgroup. This brings us to the end of the video. If you liked it, leave a like. If you subscribe, subscribe. If you got some extra money lying around, hey, donate to the children in Palestine using my link in the description down below. And of course, what class from D&D or any other RPG would you like to see next? Leave it in the comments down below. I hope to see you in the next one. Peace out.